Hey, you guys. Give me a moment here as I'm like still setting myself up. But I figure it would be a nice grace period to let whoever hit that bell to be notified. Hopefully they get notified. Oh, I already had a water here. Goodness, I must have had an extra long day. So let me mute this right here too. I don't want to hear these notifications. How's everybody doing? Just give me one more moment. I'm just going to light a little bit of sage. I haven't lit any today at all. And that's really not like me. But it's kind of a way for me to calm down. In case you guys didn't know, when I come on the channel and talk with you guys, it's actually very relaxing and even therapeutic for me. It doesn't feel like work at all. Hold on a minute. Let me blow this out. Whew. Welcome, you guys. Nice. This is a nice little steam going here. All right, I just needed a little bit. But this is an important topic tonight. And of course, there are some common sense things that we can all think about when we want to consider why you're not being appreciated, and especially when we're talking about toxic people and, the narcissist. So I have a lot of things written down, you guys. And hello, Grandma JJ. Hello, Fearless Meadows. Hello, Love You. And hello, Proud Mother 26. Thanks for dropping in, of course. So I'm going to spend the first part of this focusing more on, the narcissist or the toxic person. And then, we'll wrap it up by focusing on ourselves, okay? Because that's a good way to bring it home, right? So, I make these type of videos so that we can have some self-reflection. We can increase our emotional maturity, you guys. So just be honest with yourself. And it's just a great time to be able to see more angles, to peep out these manipulative people and their tactics. And it helps you understand the psyche as well. Because I always say, be a student of psychology. It'll serve you well in life. I'm telling you. And dealing with basically anyone, because we're all, humans and we all have a mind, right? And it'll help you understand yourself as well. But especially for those of you who a lot of times we feel like the narcissist or the toxic person is our polar opposite, basically. And some people really scratch their head and they have a hard time understanding why is a person this way, because they aren't that way. But, we're going to have to evolve and be able to see these angles, not to our detriment, because a lot of empaths are just too empathetic. And that's something I'm going to address on the back end of this conversation. But, not for empathy's sake, but just so that you can make or have better decision making when you're judging people, okay? And deciding whether you're going to be promoting them or demoting them in your life, right? Because how often do we get to a certain point and we realize we done bought somebody up to the top of the moon with us and they really didn't even deserve to take one step. You see what I'm saying? So let me go ahead and start down the list here. Why they would never appreciate you. Well, the first thing first that I want to point out here is it was never about you to begin with. This person has a tunnel vision. Narcissists, they have tunnel vision. Users, manipulative people, toxic people, they have tunnel vision. And they're really just focused on what you have to offer. Things, and what you have, obviously, that's separate from you as a person, as a being, and as your essence, right? So this person doesn't genuinely care about you right off the rip. The next thing that I want to bring or point out here is they know they didn't sincerely work for it a lot of times. And this is that whole thing about being too nice that I was talking about yesterday, giving the shirt off of your back to the wrong causes, right? So either something can just be given from you being nice, or they love bomb their way into it, right? So they didn't make any sacrifices. They didn't work for it. So these type of people, they have a hard time. That's called a blessing, really, if you think about it. If God has grace and mercy over your life and he's giving you blessings, a healthy person might be humbled by that. They might appreciate that, and that's why sometimes you might say, man, I didn't even deserve it. I'm just a sinner, but God had grace and mercy on my life, right? But a toxic person, they just take things for granted. And then those are the group of people that would be in the group where we could say, for an ignorant person, if they didn't work for it, chances are they're going to take it for granted, right? Even if it's the top of the line, even if it's, the Rolls Royce of whatever. They didn't have to make any sacrifices for it. It came easy. So it's just something to be taken for granted, even if it's something valuable. And like I said, a healthy person can come across something really valuable and it'll mean something because, number one, healthy people understand how to value things appropriately, right? So we'll understand the value of things to begin with, which is my next thing. Well, actually, it was the next thing after this, but we'll just go ahead and tie it in because that makes sense to me. They undervalue people and they overvalue things. All right. So they're not going to appreciate you if really they're just overvaluing, like I said, the things that you have. The next thing that I would like to say, you guys, is they struggle with empathy. All right. So someone that struggles with empathy is going to also struggle with appreciation. And this is real. This empathy thing is real. Scientists have literally looked at the brains of psychopaths and narcissistic people, and they've seen that they had less gray matter in the region of the brain that is associated with empathy. All right. So this is real. And that's a brain injury that cannot be cured, you guys. That's why it's a dead end situation. All right. So when they're undervaluing people and overvaluing things, you could listen to a song like the OJs, For the Love of Money. People will rob their own mother. Listen to a song like that. It's going to break it down for you. All right. Because in these situations, then money is king versus with a healthy person, money is just a tool. It's a tool. It's not king. The next thing that I'd like to point out, you guys, is in essence, they're too shallow. They're too shallow and they prefer it to be that way. And you have to remember, and this is on a more psychological insight to this, they're running from themselves, including certain kinds of emotions and traits and characteristics that they find to be that make them feel more vulnerable or exposed. Never mind, like we said, the psychopath that can't even tap into that. But, maybe narcissists that aren't as far down the spectrum, they're running from themselves. I mean, all of them are, but to different levels and degrees. Okay. The other thing that I'd like to say is they overvalue themselves and they undervalue others, or at least they like to display that they're overvaluing themselves and undervaluing others. And this is different, you guys, from overvaluing people and undervaluing people and overvaluing things. Is two different statements. And this one speaks to the superiority, and this is a way for them to hide their insecurities. And basically, at this point, they're saying that they are the prize and not you. So if they're walking around thinking that they are the prize, anything you do is not going to be, recognized adequately at that point. They're going to minimize your efforts and contributions. And then oppositely, they're going to maximize theirs, right? Now, here's another psychological insight to why they can't show appropriate appreciation for things. On some levels, acknowledging your help and your contributions may force them to have to see their own shortcomings and inadequacies, right? Let's say you bailed them out of a situation, you saved the day, right? So you then would deserve to have that admiration, right? Not them. So acknowledging all that you do, it actually is going to go against their false mask or whatever the image is that they want to perceive of their superiority over you. Another thing that I would like to point out is some of you may have found that they don't like to feel like they owe anybody anything. And that's why narcissists and toxic people, they love gifts. Like I remember years ago dealing with a narcissist that was having financial issues. And, the little bits of money that I was giving this person, they always wanted to make it very clear that it was just a gift. Well, number one, they didn't want to have accountability and they knew they were too irresponsible to ever really make good on it, but they never really want to feel like they owe anybody anything. So they like gifts versus borrowing. So if something is being gifted, they feel like they don't have to appreciate it as much. You see what I'm saying? As if they were borrowing something and you're like helping them out, right? Someone always tries to call me during a live chat. Oh, I can't take this call right now. Hold on, you guys. I want to cut this headset off, honestly, but let me just put it over here and maybe it won't be as distracting. So the next thing, you guys, that I would like to mention is they're entitled, all right? So if someone is entitled, they're going to have an energy where you didn't do them a favor. They did you a favor by accepting, They did you a favor by letting you help them. Yeah. Isn't that really arrogant? The next thing, you guys, is they're definitely detached from reality. So you might think, what world do they live in? By how they process things, like the way that they may recall that whole situation, on how things panned out. Like, wait a minute, I was the one who did all of this that led to that and da 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 da. Like their recount of the situation may just completely like either not even acknowledge what you did or made it like you gave some type of breadcrumbs or something. Like, you could have helped the narcissist get through school or something. And then on that day, they didn't give you any thanks. I'm the one who studied. I'm the one who got my grades, even if they barely passed. But if you weren't paying for their books, perhaps, if you weren't paying for their tuition, who knows what, like they're not, no matter how much somebody helps them, they'll always take the credit for it anyway. They're very detached from reality. All right. The next thing we're going to point out about these type of people is they're never satisfied anyway, right? They're like a bucket with holes in it. And this is what survivors really have to understand. So if there's holes in that bucket, the more you pour into it, the more there's going to come out the bottom of it. The next thing, you guys, they're so negative minded. They're always looking for what's wrong, or they're trying to find the imperfections. And they're so focused on that they're not focused on what was right about a situation. And this is when you could do something beautiful for the narcissist or a toxic person, and you'll find that they'll find something wrong with it before they've even acknowledged anything positive. You could take them to a fancy restaurant and they'll find something to pick with it. I mean, whatever it is, they're going to find something wrong. The next thing, you guys, is they expect. Yes, this is of the energy of entitlement. It's like entitled, but from this type of angle, if they're used to people weighing on them hands and foot, right, manipulating people or trying to find people of low self-esteem, people pleasers or whatever, that would be willing to be so accommodating to them, if you will, they become numb, and it's like you're a servant to them. Therefore, yet again, you're just doing your job. So they have that type of energy with them. And then, like I said before about overvaluing themselves, they might feel like just their presence, this just them sleeping with you or having a conversation with you, gracing you with their presence, that's the equalizer, right? So they don't need to appreciate it if they feel like it's actually balanced out in their mind and whatever they're overvaluing that they're giving to you, that they feel like they're giving to you anyway. Now, this is a very manipulative aspect right here that I would like to point out as to why they don't appreciate things outwardly, for sure. They don't want you to see your worth and your value. So this is a great way for them to downplay you, right? If they never really let on how much you've done and how much you've helped them, and you get your sense of worth from this person's what they think of you and this and that. And sometimes survivors are in that state before they've found themselves or they have adequate self-esteem. So yeah, if you're waiting for them to validate you and they don't do it, you may even be broken to the point where you'll start undervaluing yourself as well and minimizing your contributions as well, right? So with those things being pointed out, you guys, what energy are you in when you're expecting a toxic person to appreciate you? Are you expecting a narcissist to appreciate you, right? Well, I would say that this person would have to definitely minimally be in an energy of having low expectations, right? Because you might find that, and this psychologically pans out, it really does, that you had low expectations because sometimes history can be a good teacher, especially for someone who has been abused and not healed from it quite yet. Because you've had all these other toxic people who didn't appreciate you and may actually groom you to accept that from other people, basically, right? So by the time you get to this person, you have low expectations and you almost expect nothing out of people. And when I say almost expect nothing, and it can even go lower than this, you might expect that they just won't steal from you or anything like that. Well, you have to require respect and reciprocation from people. But if you're just your expectation is to just allow you to be around, just make me feel like you're with me per se. Just give me a title, even though you're not really upholding that title. They're telling you they're giving you this commitment, but they're really not upholding it, meaning the actions aren't going behind it. So what's the point of, having the ring or having the title if that's really all that you have? It's just on paper. It's not, they don't really love you and care about you. They're not really pulling their weight and doing their share here. So low expectations are a big part of why you would still be hanging around people that don't appreciate you. Along with, of course, low self-esteem, right? Afraid of being alone, afraid of ruffling feathers, and this speaks to codependency, right? And it actually gives the upper hand and allows leeway to the other person to say, well, this person expectations are so low, I don't really have to reciprocate them. I don't really have to show them a certain level of appreciation to get what I want out of them. You'll be training them at that point to have that notion, and they will run with it and then some. Another red flag here is you'll be ignoring red flags, which leads you to overgiving and overextending your time with this type of person instead of nipping it in the bud when you realize, their poor character. And how does this happen? And this is I was going to make a video about this, but I could just put this in right here, honestly. We got to stop letting ourselves be the first. Let's say we meet a toxic person. Well, We don't know that they're toxic, but they got a toxic ass past, right? But they're turning over a new leaf. Why should you be the person that they get to practice on? And I just made a video about this the other day. When I was talking about, not allowing people to go to class on your time and heal themselves on your time, basically, and allowing yourself to be with someone who's ready made, right? But if someone's had a flaky ass past, and a lot of times survivors think they can be the exception, or their love and dedication will be all that person was missing, especially when they give you this woe is me story and pull on all your empath strings, right? Don't be the first person that they get to prove this to. I mean, at least if someone turns over a new leaf, which people can do in life, it's true. But if they're a narcissist, you can forget about it, first of all. But if it's a non-narcissistic person, allow them to prove it through other people, not you. Like, that should be too risky for you at that point, right? And this isn't a stock where possibly, a high risk and a high return. That's not how it's going to be working in these type of situations. So we can't ignore those red flags, and we can't allow people with shaky past to come into our life and try to sell us on them being changed. In those type of situations, it's better safe than sorry. And it's my recommendation, especially for survivors who have already been through enough with toxic people. We don't want to deal with risky profiles. People who have risky, questionable passes. We have to stop doing that. All right. The next thing that I have on here is being too empathic, right? Being too empathic. That'll definitely make you think about others more than yourself. And that just really goes without saying there. And then you'll be able to make excuses for them. Well, they grew up that way. They never learned how to this and that. And either way, you're getting the short end of the stick. And it's inappropriate. And I've already made videos about that. Letting these people just go at that point. If you need to feel needed, they're going to feel like they were doing you a favor as well. So I want to point out that aspect of things. Some of us just want to feel needed. That makes us feel wanted. Okay. And those are actually two different things. Someone can need something from you and not really want you at all. So that's something else that survivors need to really keep in mind, you guys, in your emotional maturity. If you're working to prove your worth, you guys, that's going to be an issue as well. If you feel like you have to pay for affection, if you have to pay for love, like the more you give, basically, the more people will like you. The whole problem with that is you're giving to the wrong people who don't even deserve it, which is going to equal no respect given back to you. All right. And it's not true. The more that you give, the more people will like you. The more that you give to a toxic person, the more they will take from you. But it has nothing to do with them increasing their like for you. Okay. That's the whole thing. But when you're working so hard to prove that you're even worthy to be in that relationship with that person, you're going to set yourself up to not be setting healthy boundaries at that point. All right. And when you're not setting healthy boundaries, you are definitely going to be a magnet for a narcissist. That's exactly what type of person they're looking for. And then that sets the stage for codependency to occur. All right. A toxic relationship, trauma bonding, all of that, you guys. So that's what I had here as far as, why they will never appreciate you is basically a lot of manipulation, you guys, a lot of control and a lot of ego issues going on here. All right. And oh, hey, Carmen, I never see you in my lives. It's great to catch you. Yeah. And the more they expect, Right, right. That's the danger of you overgiving. You start setting a tone, and then they're going to expect you to keep up that pace, right? Like a mule or some type of horse or a robot. That would be even better, better way to put that. And they don't care if you get sick and tired. Mm-mm. But all right, you guys, do you have any questions on this topic? That's basically, what I had to say about this. You know how I am. I'm really a straight shooter. It's very easy for me to get to, the point. I'm not very long-winded with things. I'll open the floor for any questions, about this or toxic people before I wrap up this live chat. It's always great to hit the bell because live chats are a great time to, be able to ask me questions. So as you can see, like the videos that I've been putting up, they all have like similar themes. I'm really trying to reinforce these things this week about understanding that you can't bring people with you and how they're not going to appreciate it anyway. And it's not their blessing to be had, you guys. That's the thing. You're giving it to sources that don't deserve it anyway. And this is what I was talking about yesterday. And people who don't even recognize a blessing when they got it. That's why I had to mention that don't cast your pearls before swine. They don't know the difference between a pearl or a swine. They treat them all the same. They treat them all the same, you guys. So you have to see the value in harnessing or, keeping to yourself if you need to. Is way better than giving it to something undeserving or someone undeserving. And how much more would you have at this point if you hadn't put into that bucket with all the holes? You see what I'm saying? And some of you have kids and they don't have no shame. They don't have no shame. They will take from a mother and her children. They don't care because all they care about is themselves. They're not even seeing you or your children. Con artists, con artists don't have empathy. They just have an agenda, you guys. So we have to just start seeing those red flags and letting that be enough. Let that be enough. And put yourself first and cut it short early. Who was I talking to? It was someone in a coaching session, and I loved what they were telling me. They were on a dating site or they were somewhere, and someone was just giving them bad vibes. The old them would have not acknowledged their inner voice. They would have quieted it. They would have needed more information, right? But the new them said, you know what? I trust myself. And feeling those bad vibes was enough for me. I pulled back. I didn't need any further, anything else. And when you're getting more connected with the source and with God, and He can give you that information, and you trust yourself to just be able to receive that. We're not talking about being paranoid and doing this to everybody that you meet, but when it does hit you, you're feeling that for a reason. So Carmen has a question. Carmen says, what about when they don't want you and just control? I still don't understand how someone does not love you, but craves to have control. Love and control are two different things. It could be a psychopath. So you don't understand how someone does not love you, but craves control because you have something that they want and they want to control you to get it. And for a psychopath, the control actually invigorates them. It makes them feel powerful. And, this is even just for a regular narcissist, Carmen. And them not loving you makes them feel even more comfortable to control you, right? Because someone that loves you is not going to want to control you. So being void of that actually enables them to be able to take it there with you and feel pretty much guilt-free about it because they don't care about you. So that's how someone that does not love you but craves to control you, that craving word lets you know that, yeah, it could be someone psychopathic. They're craving it. Any other questions, you guys? And for anyone that came into the live chat after the fact, of course, YouTube is going to upload this. So all right. Well, it looks like no one else has any questions. Well, thank you for joining in on this live chat. If hopefully you guys got something from this. CJ Moore has a question. Why do they come back after a discard? I thought the new supply was supposed to be better. Not always. That's an assumption that a survivor could make in their low self-esteem are based off of their shallow perceptions from the outside looking in. But you got to think about it. If you're already on to the narcissist and you've already been through these cycles of abuse and you're over that situation, you're going to be further than anyone new in their life who's starting over where you were or where you used to be. And they're going to have lessons that they're going to have to learn along those lines. So they're not better. They're just unknowing. They're easier to manipulate. This is why, and then the new supply may seem better to someone who's drained and broken down and heartbroken. So they're all shiny and energized. And the narcissist, who's an energy vampire, is, waiting to zap them of their energy next. So, no, they're going to get their share as well, depending on how much of a lesson they need to learn, right? So why do they come back after a discard? Well, usually a discard is not a final discard for a narcissist. So I'll say that as well, CJ Moore. I have a lot of content on my channel talking about the narcissist discard. So if you even just went under to my videos and search discard, all of them will pop up. There'll be more than you could even count because there's over 800 videos on this channel and it'll be able to break it down very intricately. I have at least 10 videos, probably 10 reasons why they discard, and you'll find all types of information like that. But they come back because they weren't completely done. I mean, they just wanted to do something else in the meanwhile. They wanted to punish you. It's usually one or the other, a punishment or simultaneously both, right? They wanted to, deal with another supply at the time. So Cynthia N says, what about ex-baby daddy hoovering? Right. Narcissists usually have children with people so that they can, constantly have that connection. And I was going to make a video about explaining what commitment is to a narcissist, or, what their intentions are for quote unquote commitment is really just keeping ties with you. Being close enough in your energy circumference to be able to have access. They just want to have access to you. And the lowest level they can get it is the lowest level that they're going to take. If they have to marry you to get it, then they'll have to deal with marrying you. And some narcissists, because they're so image focused, they will marry someone. It looks good for business, and it doesn't mean that it had anything to do with love. You see what I'm saying? So they're hoovering because, it's tax time too, right? So they hoover for all types of reasons. Things could be going bad with the other supply. So, they want to rotate, especially if they have children here and children there. It's so many reasons why. But I bet you if you can tap into your own particular situation and pick up the clues around you, it'll become really clear on why this person is hoovering you, especially if they have had a pattern of doing things. So, yeah. But chances are that he needs something from you, Cynthia. Even if it's an ego stroke, something. He wants to use you to triangulate someone else. Something's going on. So, Carmen says it's not about the new supply being better. Absolutely. They do. They do have many supplies, Carmen. And Carmen says they never change no matter who they're with. Absolutely. The difference is the timing and the mask coming off. Right. Hold on a minute. I don't want to skip. How did I skip all these comments? CJ Moore says, mine's is trying to make a baby with a random. She's barely 18 or something. Yeah. And they are, is the person, narcissists will have children with a stranger, but their perception is that stranger has something that they want to be able to have access to it. So you have a baby with someone, that baby got at least 18 years before it's legally grown, and they feel like you'll have to at least see them or deal with them on these levels. So it gives them access. Grandma JJ says if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. Right, miles. We can put an S at the end of that if you let them. Carmen says some narcs will have babies thinking it will permanently keep the supply in the cycle. Right, foolish. And the jokes be on them when you grow and evolve, right? Carmen says, Lakia, you taught me well. I'm so proud of this insight, but yes, make a video. Cynthia N says he has other supplies too. Of course. Grandma JJ says they marry for opportunity. Yes, everything is an opportunity because they're very transactional, right? Cynthia Ann says she thinks he was dumped. Right. So now, to stroke his ego, he needs to come back over there. Try to anyway, right? But like I say, you guys are in a beautiful position where the narcissist stays the same. You growing and evolve. She said that's why he's hoovering. Well, there you go. And then if he gets back with you, it could possibly invoke that other person to be jealous or feel like she's missing something. And before you know it, he's like bouncing back and forth. And that's the setup. That's perfect for them. When they get tired of you, or you start demanding more, or they want to get out of that love bomb phase with you, it's boring, whatever, and they go somewhere else. But you're nobody's second best, and you're not a book to be taken off of a shelf whenever they feel like it, Cynthia. All right, and then make sure, and since you guys do have a child together, that you watch my video before you sleep with them again. And that goes for anyone on here who hasn't watched that video. It will certainly change the way that you view sex moving forward. I made this video like last week. Please check that out. You guys really have to get the memo on that video. Grandma JJ says, my sister was hoovered today by an ex-narcissist 2 weeks after his wife died. Yeah. Right. Her body isn't even cold down in the ground. And right, is on to the next. And then he'll probably try to play on her emotions because he's widowed and all of this stuff and try to get sympathy, right? So, I mean, you can help your sister and hopefully she's, in a healthy state of mind where she won't fall for any shenanigans. Yeah, 20 years ago. And I'm glad you brought that up because people think that, once a certain amount of time goes by that they will not come back. They will. They will. Oh, so she divorced him 20 years ago. Then he remarried and now this wife has passed on. And we can only imagine what type of stress he put her under at the end of her life. And now he wants to go and be toxic with your sister and take her to the grave too, right? Yeah, and that's the other thing. You guys, you're worried about your feelings and everything, but there's psychological and physical pains and damages that are going on with you. You know, stress kills. You guys know that, right? So being with a person that's stressing you out like this, you know it's not good for your health. Mm-mm-mm. I wonder how many narcissistic men outlive their wives. And all the stress that woman has carried in a relationship. But a lot of times when we have the wrong way of thinking, a lot of empaths are just so loyal to love that the thought of divorce they can't even see it, even when it's staying in the marriage is to their detriment. But what they don't understand is God didn't give you that husband. God didn't make that person your husband to begin with, right? The same thing for my male audience. I've seen that my male audience is actually jumping on this channel. I have like 32% of men that watch my channel. So I never want them to feel left out in our conversation because I know they're quietly listening. Tamara Jackson says, my child's sperm donor is currently using his sibling to hoover you. This is after you guys already obviously have an agreement that perhaps he's not to be in the child's life. Oh, well, maybe. Yeah, I can't, I'm not going to make any assumptions in this situation. Well, I hope that, you did things legally with a person like this, because they could try to become a headache, for sure. Carmen Melton says, is narcissism some type of demonic spirit while his wife died and he doesn't care to mourn properly? Right. Well, narcissists like distractions, right? They definitely like distractions. And yes, there is a demonic, it's a spiritual attack. That's why your spirit feels so weakened, after going through that experience. And it's a psychological bruise, or people might say that you've been spiritually raped. Yeah, it's extremely spiritual. And as a matter of fact, I don't feel like, we talk a lot about technicalities, but the spiritual aspect of it is actually more important, honestly. I mean, all of it's important, but the spiritual aspect of it. Carmen Melton says, do you have a video on bettering discernment? All of them are, actually, Carmen. It's just, what do you need to increase your discernment about? Finding that topic, But I can make a video. I can do that, Carmen. I can make a video generally speaking about it. Okay. But if it's definitely, I've done videos on certain areas. All right. Yvette says, just want to say hi. Jumped in a little late, but will rewatch after I get out of this doctor appointment. Been here 2.5 hours and haven't seen, but she's worth the wait. Good. Yeah. Oh, well, I hope you're okay. Oh, they have emojis with the mask on now. Oh, I think they did, right? Did they been have that? I just noticed your emojis, Yvette. All right, you guys. What time is it? Almost 10 o'clock where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead and get off of the live chat. Hello, Tony Fox and Harlem Free. You're coming in as I am about to go out. Is everything okay with you, hun? Oh, yeah. But you'll learn a lot. I said a lot in a little bit of time, so good, good. I'm glad all is well. All right, you guys, as usual, you're welcome, Grandma JJ. I hope that you learned something from tonight's live chat on why people don't appreciate you. And now that you know why, you can do something about it. You definitely have some understanding. Because I basically touched, I can't think of nothing else. I sat there and thought about it. I'm like, what else could it be? So pretty much touched on it. Tony Fox says, hope all is well and good night, my love. Proud of you and thank you. Aw. Thank you guys for all your love and support. Make sure that you hit the like button if you want more content like this. Subscribe if you just stumbled into me today. Hit the bell so that you're notified when I upload, which is, it's frequent enough. I have 2 support groups, you guys, on Facebook, a private one and a public one. If you guys try to go to the public one, please answer the questions. I have maybe 40 people who are in limbo right now because they didn't answer any of the questions. And I don't want to feel like I don't know what to think when I see that, I don't know what to think, but don't shimmy over the questions that I have for the public support group. They're there for a reason. All right. And I know that I probably wouldn't even have to tell you guys like that. So, I don't know if those are like 40 of you guys as exes trying to weasel in on there, and they're so entitled that they feel like they don't have to answer the questions. Because I know that you guys wouldn't be like that. It's just like 3 or 4 simple questions, right? So if you have asked to come on there and you haven't answered the questions, it's why I didn't let you through yet. Okay? So you can, retract that request and just answer the questions and I'll let you through. Because I don't want to I shouldn't have to inbox people to do that. Like I put them there for a reason. Oh, wow. You have a doctor that's not, at a hospital that's working until 9 p.m. Those are great flexible hours right there. All right, you guys, make sure that you are having self-love. Do something, be kind to yourself, right? And until next time, you guys, continue to do the work. Never give up on yourself. And until next time, please take care.